We're back. I'm here with Jane Newhouse. She is part of Newhouse Wildlife Rescue of Chelmsford, and
Yes,
she is
sir.
the owner. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Good. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what Newhouse Wildlife Rescue is.
Absolutely. So I'm a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, and I work with a local veterinarian, Dr. Vasilakis, out of Linwood Animal Hospital, and my husband, Brandon Newhouse, who's a local contractor, and we all work together to help the animals, the local animals in Chelmsford, the surrounding towns, if people find them, any wildlife. So if you find an injured squirrel or possum or raccoon, or a baby animal that's orphaned, you can call us and we'll help rehabilitate them if we can, and hopefully get them back into the wild.
Wow, that's really awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
What? Just to start, how did you get into that? What was? Is it a passion of yours?
Definitely a passion. I love it. I was a veterinary technician for 6 years, and I loved dogs and cats at that point, and I helped the veterinarians, and people would bring in animals, because a lot of people will just bring them to a veterinary clinic because they don't know where else to bring them, the wildlife. So that's when I got my first experience with raccoons and squirrels. That was in Georgia, and I absolutely loved it. The animals that don't have owners, so there's no one funding them. And it was like an extra sad cause to me. So I have such a bleeding heart, I swear. But I loved it, and to see them, the wildlife comes in such bad shape. Like this past summer, we had 2 raccoons that were emaciated. Their mother had been taken 6 days prior by animal control. They didn't realize that she had babies, and the babies, they hadn't eaten or drinking for 6 days, so they were emaciated, they were cold, they were super dehydrated, and they made it. We were able to save them, but when I released them, I looked at pictures of them as when they first came in just that such a fragile state, and how gorgeous. I mean, my male, he was a supermodel. I was like, man, if there were modeling gigs for raccoons, he was just so gorgeous, a picture of health. And like to look at those 2 pictures side by side, I was like, this is it. Like, this is why I do this. It feels so good. You can't buy that feeling, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. So do you tag them to be able to track them later on, or no?
I'll never know. And that is one of the really hard parts is we train them. So they have to pass a lot of training exercises before I can release them and give them the best possible chance. We have a really large, like 20-foot by 10-foot cage outside. And I hide things for them, so I'll hide like bugs, which is probably the grossest part of my job. It's watching them have to hunt for bugs. And when I feed them fruit, I'll stick it to the tree that's in their pen. Fish, they have a pond in their pen that they have to go like hunt fish. And then I would take them for excursions where they had to climb up trees and come down, show me that they could do it. And then when I felt like they were comfortable foraging, they were released together. The brother and the sister were, so they have each other. But it is very hard to not know, because I do wonder, you know, you always wonder, but I know at least they had a better chance than they did before we got involved, for sure.
Now, when you release them, do you generally try to release them back into the same area?
Within 5 miles, yeah. By law, they need to be released around 5 miles from where they were found.
Wow.
So yeah, try to do a wooded area in that vicinity. But the nice thing too is when they are released, they're vaccinated. The veterinarian that I work with vaccinates them for rabies, distemper, and they're also dewormed. So it makes me feel better also that when we release animals, we're helping with zoonotic diseases and helping protect people as well.
Wow. So do you have to have special licenses and things to be able to handle the wildlife?
Absolutely, yes. You have to have a permit from a state to take care of wildlife, and you also, so there's a test that you need to take. And if you pass that test, then you have to show the state that you have the necessary equipment, the necessary facility to care for those types of animals. And then as far as the animal care with like a veterinarian, you have to have a veterinarian that will sign off to work with you. And I'm very fortunate to have Linwood Animal Hospital right on the corner of Lowell and Chelmsford.
Okay.
They help us with all those things. I just had to go there today because I have a raccoon in my care that was on someone's front porch. Something had taken off its tail, and so we're treating it, but it needed like a full array of medications for him, antibiotics and things, and it's nice to have a clinic that I can go to and a doctor that will look at things and say, okay, let's do this, you know, these milligrams, things like that I can't do. So it's nice. It takes a team, and the community as well. The community has been so supportive, which I didn't know what to expect when we first did this. I didn't know how strong the need was locally, and I didn't know how many people were going to be happy and supportive. We did an acorn drive, and the Chelmsford Public Library actually set up something where people could bring acorns for our last group of squirrels that we released, because they don't really have a lot of time to store nuts. So we got so many people that dropped off acorns for the squirrels, and they're just people asking if they can donate, how they can help. It's nice to see the entire community come together. The Girl Scouts, there's a Girl Scout troop that was just raising funds to help try and build us some cages, and that's also been very heartwarming to just see an entire community come together to try and help the wildlife.
Wow. So how long will you typically keep an animal? I mean, is there a point where you just you try hard but you just can't save an animal? Is that
Sometimes, usually we can tell when they come in. If they're in really rough shape and they can't be 100% rehabilitated, if they're going to be compromised in any way, we can't rehabilitate them. Like if an animal's going to be blind, or if it's going to be missing limbs, or somehow not be able to fully function, we have to make that assessment and they have to be euthanized. More often than not, usually a baby raccoon, 4 or 5 months, we can release them, but it varies depending on what comes in and what the situation is.
What's kind of the biggest animal you've dealt with? What's the most
This
dangerous
raccoon
animal?
I have right now is 30 pounds. He is huge. I was scared to get involved with him because he's an adult, so he doesn't know me, and every time he's seen me, I poke and prod him. So he gets very angry, and I don't blame him. He doesn't know, and it's definitely scary. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but that's what sedatives are for. That's why I have Dr. Vasilakis. So I'd say 30 pounds is the largest that we've done, because we do small mammals, so fox, squirrels, the raccoons, possums. I don't do birds, though I have recently gotten calls for birds of prey. There was an elderly lady on Wildwood in Chelmsford, and there was a red-tailed hawk in her backyard, and she's like, I've been looking at it. Yeah, I've been looking at it all day. I don't know what to do, what's going on. And she was just afraid, like, how do I get it to Tufts? How do I get this animal into a carrier? And I was like, I'll be right over. We were able to get it in a carrier, but most people cannot actually. These birds, like their beaks and their talons are made to rip flesh. So it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, don't try and touch it. So it's nice to be able to help with those sorts of things. Though it takes a different permit than what I have, a federal permit for birds of prey. So we just took it directly to Tufts.
Yeah. Now, do you show up in like a superhero suit?
I do. What? I have a cape. Yep, with Newhouse Wildlife Rescue on the back. Yep. I glide on it. Yeah. It's fun though. It's a lot of fun to be able to help. It's hard because I do have a job, because wildlife rehabilitation doesn't pay. The state doesn't pay us to do it. We just survive off of donations from the community. So I do have a part-time job. It was full-time, and when I started doing this and I realized what the need was, I have a very understanding husband. I kind of moved to doing it part-time, and but I love it so much. And I told my husband, I'm like, this is like. I can't step away from this, because it gives my life such a sense of purpose. I mean, I'm a mother of 2 children too, and that's awesome. But this is like a little thing I've always loved, and it feels great to do it. And it exposes my children to be able to see, just being kind to animals. And they're not allowed to touch or play with the animals that I care for, but they see what Mom's doing, and they also see the community coming too. I have people coming to drop off blankets for the animals and cages. And when we found an owl, the Lincoln police officer called us. They needed someone to help get an owl to Tufts, and I asked the community, can anyone help us get this owl a ride? And the amount of people that responded, it was so amazing. And I like exposing my children to that, to see like how a community can come together to help these creatures. Like, that's a life lesson that you can't really teach, easily.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to show them that too. So it's been a great thing, it's relatively new, but it's such a positive thing right now, and we're excited for the spring, because it's going to be crazy, but we're going to save so many lives, so we're psyched about it.
I mean, is some of it just in honesty, like just from just nature itself. Like, you have a squirrel that's attacked by like a coyote or something, and it's just
you can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I'm the bleeding heart. And that's why Dr. Vasilakis, she's very real with me, and I love working with her because she'll say, this is the situation, this is reality, and you can make a decision, and I'll support you, but this is the situation. And she's very blunt with me, and I love having someone like that on my team to kind of say, all right, like, think about this. So she keeps me in check, and it is hard. I think the harder part is when you've raised them from babies and that happens, it's a little bit harder. But when they come to you and you haven't met them before, you don't, and you know that literally you are helping them, because euthanasia ends suffering. So at least like that's something that you can do to help, and it's still tough, but at least you did help a bad situation. And I'm very thankful that I had 6 years experience as a vet tech beforehand to prep me for that, because it's not all cuddling. Like, I don't get to go in there and just cuddle with all the raccoons, and it's very different. But
not without a whole bunch of sedatives, right?
Yeah. Well, the babies are sweet, but like it's hard because when they're babies, you're allowed to handle them. You have to wear gloves, but you can handle them more. But when they become like teenagers and they're weaned, you actually have to step away and let them get used to being in the wild. So the cage that I have right now is facing the woods in my backyard, so that they're kind of just exposed to the woods. And the more time they're away from people, the more wild they get. That's hard too, because at first you're mom. So I can take them out in the woods, and initially they respond to me as mom. They follow me everywhere I go. But then I have to break that bond, because I can't have them following people. That's scary. You don't ever want a raccoon following you around. So it's keeping myself in check to make sure that they can be released, and they can be wild when they are released. So it's difficult. It's definitely, you have to try and keep your emotions in check, and you have to be able to turn them off to try and make the right decision when the animals come in. A lot of bunnies come in. People with outdoor cats, by the way, if I can say, if you have a cat, it really should stay indoors for the safety of the cat and for the safety of all the little animals that it's going to attack for fun. I would say 75% of animals that wildlife rehabilitators take care of are from anthropogenic reasons. And what that is people's effect on wildlife, people's negative effects on nature, animals that were hit by car, birds that were affected by rodenticide, which is a huge thing right now. I don't know if you guys have seen all the articles. So, you know how there's the rat problem in Chelmsford you guys were just talking about?
Yeah.
Rodenticide is a way that a lot of people try to kill the rats with rat poisoning. And the problem is that people think, okay, I killed the rat, so my problem is done. But the problem is that rat might be drunk, half dead, trying to walk around, and a hawk or an eagle or an owl's like, oh, sweet, easy meal. This guy, he's not even paying attention. And they eat the rat. They eat the rat poisoning too. And at Cambridge, they did something on the Wicked Local. I think it was Tufts or Ram posted something about it. There are a lot of birds being exposed to rodenticide, and Tufts treats a lot of them, all the places that treat birds of prey. States have done tests on birds of prey to see how many are being exposed. We're talking 85, 90% of the birds of prey. Also, a lot of people I know Chelmsford News, they post about fox with mange. A lot of people see foxes or coyotes with mange. And a lot of those have been exposed to rodenticide, and it weakens their immune system. So there's been a big issue with using rat poisoning as opposed to rat traps or dry ice with the animals as well. So going back to the cats, when people let their cats out, a lot of those animals come into rehabilitators, and a lot of times we can't save them. I get a lot of bunnies that I cannot save with compound fractures. We can't do anything. And animals that have been poisoned or hit by cars, things like that. So I think it's important to have rehabilitators, because we need to be able to give back, because we do a lot of damage, and a lot of it's unintentional, but we do damage. And so it's good to be able to give back and to be able to help whatever animals that we can return to their ecosystem to contribute the way they're supposed to.
Do you ever run into, like, animal cruelty of any sort? Like from my
I've run into people who didn't want to give me animals that they should have, that called me and they were, about an animal that had a broken bone, and they were like, I don't want to bring it to you, I'm afraid you're going to euthanize it. It likes the sound of my voice. I can tell because it's calm. And that's frustrating to try and explain that no wild animal likes the sound of any person's voice. Like if an animal is calm with you, something's wrong. If an adult wild animal is calm with you, something's wrong. And so it can be hard sometimes to explain that because, of course, to some people, well, I don't want to bring it to you. You're going to kill it. I'm trying to take care of it. So it might not be intentional animal cruelty, but I know another rehabber I talked to was trying to catch a raccoon that had stepped in a trap and had a trap stuck to its paw. But I personally haven't seen it yet.
Now, you guys have an actual facility, or you just operate out of Tufts?
I have a facility within my house, so it's like a home run facility. So we're general contractors, so I remodeled my master bathroom and I turned it into, so there's like no toilet in there now. It's like all like a table that we took care of the raccoon on, and we have a big sink and we have a big cage in there, and a door to the outside so it can be accessed there, and then cages. So it's right now that's what's working, and I'm working with the Girl Scouts and actually Barracuda here in Chelmsford. I spoke with them today, and they want to help us too to build some cages and make some modifications to the property so that we can take on more, because we're anticipating a lot just from the response from the community. We're anticipating a lot coming in the spring. I imagine we will end up moving somewhere where we can take on more, and it can be a little more separate from my personal life.
Yeah.
But right now, it's those humble beginnings. So.
Do you accept donations from the community?
We do through our website. So we're at www.newhousewildliferescue.org, and there's a PayPal option there if people want to make donations.
Well, we'll put it up on our Chelmsford Town Talk page, and those that are watching, please help out. It sounds like you have,
awesome, yeah.
A wonderful effort.
Yes,
So.
It's directly impacted by how much the community can help, as far as how much help we can offer the animals. We don't charge. So if someone finds an animal and they're like, I can't afford to put a donation with the animal, we'll take it 100%. Like, I'm never going to ask. But help from the community certainly helps to provide those medications that those animals need, or the food, the more caging and the expansion that we need to do. So.
Or building some little tree that they can.
Yes, yes, yeah. I have 13 flying squirrels right now.
Oh,
so I
wow.
went in my backyard and grabbed a bunch of branches, and they're all inside the enclosure in my house. And I have a night cam on them. I posted a video of it. It's amazing to see. Cause
Wow.
I told my husband, I'm like, I don't even know if they're alive in there. They don't move during the day. They're so quiet, but at night, it's a party every night. It's awesome.
Well, we appreciate coming on. That's all the time we have,
All
and
right.
we hope people take the opportunity
Thank you
to
for
check it
inviting
out.
me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.